Welcome to Let's Have a Chat. I'm Zana, otherwise known as Sue, but of course you can call me either. So I have this thing called cyclothymia. You may have heard of it some videos ago. All right, maybe I'll find the one that it was in and put it right here. But cyclothymia is a type of bipolar. It's actually also known as bipolar 3. You can go high, low throughout the day. And that happens with me. And I take medication for it. However, there are times when it still occurs, right? So recently I found that it has been working out really well for me. I have, in the more stressful times, not necessarily stressful around me, but stressful for me personally, my body would react by going hee hee ha ha and smiling gleefully, talking faster, seemingly having more energy than usual, and being on top of the world, seemingly. And I found that has been working really well for me. Because I have been behaving like that, it had been easier for folks to speak with me, communicate with me, leave me in a position where they think that everything is fine. There are even some folks that I've allowed in my safe space, even though I don't really want anyone in my safe space because of what has occurred in more recent times. But I found that this is what has worked. This looks better than this, right? It looks better. It seems better. It's more comfortable for folks. It may be even more comfortable for you. I put up my hair, I put on some makeup, put on some jewelry, try to look a little smarter than usual, and this helps the dynamic. People in general have this thing where if they can make the situation more comfortable for themselves, that is what would work. And they do this more often than not subconsciously, because human beings are like that. We want what is more comfortable, what we can more stand, what would make us feel as if we don't have to really involve ourselves. It's a shame, but that's generally what happens. What I found is that when you are an empath, when you tend to see what's going on with folks and go outside of your realm, outside of your box, outside of your zone, even if it is not working for you, even if it is inconvenient for you, and go and see what the other person is up to, what is going on with them, that is outside of the grain. That is generally uncomfortable. But that is also very courageous because, as again I said, it goes outside of the grain. When you go out of your way to see that, wait a minute, that person looks fine, seems fine, they even behave fine, they seem happy, they seem gleeful, joyful, they're talking a lot, they seem energetic, but there is something. That means that you may have a very special trait within you as being an empath. It may also mean that you genuinely step a little bit outside the box. It may also mean that folks may not understand you either, because most folks generally are not like that. And it doesn't mean anything good, bad, or indifferent. It's just that these are the traits of a human being. You saw that I looked like this, but now I look like this. Do you prefer the smart look, or do you prefer that? It's a psychological state that happens to a person with or without their knowledge. It happens as a defense, as a protective mechanism when someone is going through a lot of stress, situations where they can't maneuver quite well in their own body, their own psyche, their own minds that they're in at that space and time. They might not be the best. They can't show that because of the environment they may be in, and it could be any sort of environment at all. Even though masking in its general sense, without delving deep, may be a good thing, and sometimes it is. Sometimes with certain situations you have to be like that. You should not be doing it for long. And this is what ends up happening. We end up doing it for a long time to appease other folks, even though they may not be asking for it. But we are trying to make others feel more comfortable, most especially if we have gone through trauma, we are going through PTSD. Others may not be comfortable with it, may not understand, and therefore we mask. Some of us end up masking for most of our lives and don't even realize that we're masking. That was like me. I've been doing that for many years. Some of us do that not realizing because we've been taught to deal with circumstances a particular way. And because we've grown up with no one telling us that, you know what, this isn't good for you, this is not healthy for you, let me be there for you, feel free to cry, be angry, feel free to be yourself, which may not be what everybody wants right now. Some of us have not had that, and therefore we have learned how to mask without even realizing it. Then we have fibromyalgia, and we have other situations which have caused inflammation in our bodies. We have rheumatoid arthritis. We develop, unfortunately, cancer and other situations. And even though, yes, some of us have a predisposition to these things can also happen because we've internalized everything. We've masked our stress. We've masked our trauma. And because we live in a world where putting on a brave face and being strong and being resilient and all those other things that folks say, that I say, is what's accepted, we keep on doing it. And even if we try to get out of it for a little while, we run right back into it. But masking is dangerous. Masking is unhealthy. Masking makes you sick. So even though you may not want to see this, but you prefer to see this is only for a time. I have been masking again, and I've realized that now, because I mask, when you internalize, it comes out in dreams. It comes out in my illnesses. It comes out in like the strangest things, like when you're having a conversation, all of a sudden you may have an outburst, and it may even surprise yourself. It's not the best way to be. It is uncomfortable unmasking. It's so uncomfortable that you show what is really going on with you inside. You don't want others to see the true you. You don't want others to see your flaws, like my big arms. You don't want others to see your lines and you wearing the trauma that you've gone through. Shedding the mask is not easy. It's way harder than doing so in real life, physically. When you take off all that covers up the blemishes, all that enhances the looks, it's way harder than just taking a wipe and wiping off the pencil, the eyeshadow, the mascara, the eyebrow pencil. It's way harder than that. It's quicker and easier to put on the proverbial mask. It's harder to take it off. Meanwhile, this sort of mask takes a little longer and more thought to put on, but it's easier to take off. Shedding the mask is the best thing for you, because in the end, you have to live with what has happened with you. You need to show why the things that you have gone through were not good, were not at all good enough. This is the only way we'll be able to talk more freely about trauma, PTSD, assault, and all the things that should not be happening to folks to make them put on masks. Let's normalize not wearing a mask. Why are we wearing a mask? Who are we wearing it for? Remember this. When you're in an airplane and you need to protect other people, what do they say? They tell you to take care of yourself first. If not, you would not survive long enough to take care of anyone else, would you? So why do we do this in day-to-day life? Give that a thought and put some comments in the comment section. You take care.